But the Lord said, today you will see things that you will tell humanity. Tell them to avoid this place at all cost. Brother, we must surrender completely our lives to the Lord. Let us, brothers and sisters, avoid this place. The Lord told me the church is in war, humanity is in war against dark forces, against secular forces. Tell my people to seek deliverance. Maleficent power would seek to dominate the dweller of the earth. Tell my people there are level of sanctification that can be reached only after deliverance. As the Lord was talking, we were moving toward an elevated hill. There was fire and thunders detonating and splashing in this mountain. We were effectively in the middle of the flames. A fire you have never seen in this world. A dreadful spectacle was here. Even if you put together all the volcano of the world, they will not match the heat and intensity of this place. There were in the sky light and thunderclap that were hitting the ground that was filled with flames of fire. Souls of men were screaming with intensity because of unbearable pain. There was cries of desperation. These souls were skeletal and covered with worms. The Lord was talking to me and said, do you know that names that people carried have influence and force on them? There is a sin that lead people to perdition. I want the world to know about this, but tell my people I have overcome the world. In this place I saw that before us there was like a shadow, and when I looked in the shadow I saw a tunnel. On top of the entry of this tunnel, it was written, the place of torment of people who carried names that have satanic origin. This was the prison of people who carried satanic names. I was frustrated. I said, Lord, what is the meaning of this? Every name that people carried has a spirit. People's lives are influenced by their names. These names have influence in the lives of people that carried them. God will judge spirit that you carry through the names. Tell my people to be careful about names that will cost them. Upon hearing this truth I was without strength. I did not want to continue this experience, as my eyes was focused on this dark tunnel that was vomiting fire which was rising in the sky. The atmosphere is filled with fire and hell. These were lava of fire. As I kept looking at the sinister tunnel, I saw a demon. He was covered with scales. He came out of this dark and infernal tunnel. His look seems disfigured. In his hand there was all the blasphemous names against the Lord. When he came out of the tunnel he screamed in anger and said, they will suffer these torment, because they took the wrong path. Then he went away. Evil forces could be felt here. There was no rest, for demons were busy. Souls that were confined and condemned for eternity here were people who carried names that had evil influence in their lives. Beloved, do you know the origin of your name? When we had entered the dark tunnel where fire came out continually, we began to descend deeper in absolute darkness. The more we descend, the more I realized that I needed to get closer to the Lord. My own strength was useless. If only the church can get to this level and realization that they need the Lord more of His help and strength. He renew the strength of those who are weak. The Lord made it clear people who were confined in this dark pit would never come out. The place was dirty. In this gruesome place, I kept seeing demonic shape. They were evil forces. They were crawling, roaring and making lugubrious noises. I could differentiate the shapes of these different demonic beasts that had mysterious shapes. The Lord said, what you see is a warning for my church. Up to now the enemy is still trapping many people through names that they carried, not knowing its origin. Names carry spirit and names will determine your fate. In this chambers of hell that seems different from the previous, there were many hills that were vomitant fire like volcano, and these mountainous regions was engulfed by fire where demons were casting souls to torment them. A wind was blowing like an hurricane, transporting flames that were consuming souls. There were also rain of fire falling in this place. The lost will undergo this torment forever. Psalm 11 verse 6, upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. Jesus said, I will tell you about the torment of each souls in this place. Whenever a name is of evil origin, it is a power of sin. As far as my eyes could see, I saw a group of demons tormenting a soul and pulling him. This man begged them for mercy, but there was no love and no mercy in demon, for they don't know it and don't feel. They took pleasures in the suffering of this man. They told him, we will torment you, because your God has condemned us without granting us grace and opportunity. We will torment you because He has granted you people of the earth grace. You have found grace that we will never offer. but you have mocked and treaded on the grace that he has given you. A crowds of demon was harassing this soul and tormenting him with their weapon. They dropped this soul on a rock and began to grab his flesh. I am unable to explain to you the treatment of this soul, it was too tough. They grab his organ one by one. People sought death in hell but they could not die. These demon had hammer, bow, javelin, saw. They butcher his body part like an animal. Another demon was plucking out his eyes. I said, Lord, what has he done? I felt like doing something for him. I was powerless, for judgment has fallen. The Lord began to tell me about the story of this man. His grandfather was an employee of a European who was an occultist, and the man was greatly loved and received many favor from the European. In response he gave his son the name of this European who was a Satanist, and when the son became an adult he also gave birth to a baby boy, and went on to name the baby with the name he has received from his father. This man that is tormented by demon because of his name is the baby boy who received the name of the European from his father who got it from his grandfather. The Lord said, on one hand there are names that are evil and people may fall victim of satanic name, on the other hand there are people that have signed pact with demons. The Lord said a man may not have satanic name, however if the man enter into covenant with demon the enemy will also enter in covenant with his name. As a result his name will no longer be an ordinary name. When evil spirit would come to work with him they will call him by that name, and anybody that will carry his name in the family he will enter in covenant with demon that were working with the man when he was still alive. This man you see in the flame has received the name of the European who is a Satanist. Note that there are demons who are called the keeper of names. Given that the demon keeper of this name was monitoring and watching people that carry this name, they had power of this man, who was in covenant with them thanks the name of the grandfather. By adopting the name of a Satanist the grandfather has sacrificed all the generation of his family who carried this name. When this man died, the demon came to make a claim on that name and his soul, and he said, the name you have used on the earth is our name. This is the reason he was led here, because of a name that had evil covenant. I found another man in the fire condemned because during his life on earth he was carrying the name of a world celebrity, a popular musical celebrity. The man really liked to be called the name of this celebrity, failing to realize that the musical celebrity has received his name from the great lady of the marine kingdom, for he was working with water spirit. There were many souls condemned because of their names. I will continue with this chamber tomorrow and I will go slowly.